这油船开业来部分都有免费上码头，来这油船走了，这油船部分都有马上排队马上走，来这油船。
After visiting so many cities, I finally arrived in Chongqing. I'm thrilled to discuss Chongqing in a formal tone, precisely because I've already heard countless lavish praises for this city, yet I carried subtle doubts and concerns. Excessive praise might not have a long shelf life. Instead, I wanted to approach Chongqing with a serious lens to see its true essence. What's striking is that Chongqing is nearly impossible to find criticized online. After completing my journey here, I became utterly convinced. I now understand why this is China's most iconic city, beloved across China and even globally. So, is Chongqing just a tourist destination? Why is it so magical? Why does everyone adore it? With these questions, I embarked on my Chongqing exploration. If you want to uncover its secrets, I believe you'll find your own answers by the end of this journey. So, when people see these scenes today, most won't first think of Hong Kong or Tokyo. Chongqing inevitably comes to mind. Why? Why has Chongqing become synonymous with cyberpunk urbanism? What has this city done to transform itself into such a futuristic, magnetic spectacle? Let me take you through its marvels. Take Chongqing Zigongyan Bridge for example. It isn't even a viral social media hotspot, just one of the city's many bridges spanning the Yangtze. Yet, the moment I casually parked my car here, I found myself immersed in a view unlike any other city in China. In Chongqing, every river crossing bridge could qualify as a landmark. But why? First and foremost, Chongqing boasts an abundance of architectural marvels on a colossal scale. As a city perched on the cliffs of the Yangtze River's fjord-like gorges, its topography grants boundless space for structures to unfold to their fullest potential. Whether wandering among the skyscrapers around Liberation Monument, standing beneath the Hongyedong's stilted houses, or passing by the surreal sculpture near Zhilongpo Station, this unique sensory experience, upon reflection, feels almost unparalleled in other cities. Second, the city thrives on a pulsating flow of traffic that injects vitality into its veins. Chongqing's most iconic feature, however, lies in its crisscrossing rail system that weaves through the urban fabric. While other cities debate whether above-ground rails would disturb residents, Chongqing has seamlessly integrated them into its urban spectacle, indeed, an indispensable part of its identity. Locals might have initially wondered, how did these mundane transit vehicles become instant landmarks? The answer lies in how rail transit not only embodies urban dynamism but also manifests humanity's technological progress within a cityscape, a perfect alignment with the cyberpunk aesthetic. Yet Chongqing never intentionally engineered this viral appeal. Take Liziba Metro Station, for instance. At its core, it's simply a station whose tracks happen to pass through a residential building. By serendipitous symbiosis, the building was retrofitted around the rails, creating a harmonious coexistence that captivated public imagination. Why did this phenomenon emerge in Chongqing, not elsewhere? It speaks volumes about the city's pragmatic adaptability, a trait we'll explore further when discussing Chongqingers. Finally, a cyberpunk city must certainly be generous with its use of lights. Needless to say, Hongyedong is the ultimate example. I have truly never seen any other scenic spot where the buildings use lights so lavishly. Whether it's the steel jungle of Jifangbai, or Xiaohali, which has been rendered unrecognizable by lights, or even Liziba mentioned earlier, simply adding some lighting has allowed these places to operate late into the night. This rule certainly applies to any place in Chongqing. During the day, the skyscraper-filled Yangtze River Gorge is a view you can enjoy from any high vantage point in Chongqing, while at night, it transforms into a magical realm of RGB. After wandering around Chongqing, I found its most amazing aspect is that Chongqing hasn't actually gone out of its way to deliberately create a so-called internet celebrity city through massive demolition and construction. Those subways and bridges are what the people of Chongqing use every day. Those old houses are still old houses, and old Chongqing residents still live in them. They aren't specifically prepared for tourists. Even if you reduce the number of light bulbs in Hongyedong, it would still be a pretty beautiful scenic spot. But the people of Chongqing have simply added some lighting to these buildings and some beautiful patterns to the subway cars, making the already magical architecture look even more fantastical. If it were just a colorful cyberpunk world, Chongqing wouldn't have become a city loved by so many. They not only know how to build a cyberpunk city, but they also know how to make a mountainous city comfortable to live in. Let's start with driving. As soon as you reach the suburbs of Chongqing, the originally narrow national highways become spacious, and the road surfaces clearly show they are regularly maintained. This is the first impression Chongqing leaves. Speaking of driving in the city, many people who have seen online videos of Chongqing will surely think that driving here must be full of twists and turns. Of course, if you don't live here long term, getting lost without navigation is inevitable. Please believe me, but if you use navigation, Chongqing's road design is the best they could have done. Anyway, it's much better compared to other major cities in China. In the seemingly chaotic traffic flow, it only took me a short while to adapt to Chongqing's rhythm. You see traffic lights like this on a single lane. I've only seen them in Chongqing, which shows their effort to manage the roads well in China's most structurally complex city. However, regarding Chongqing's frequent traffic jams, I think it's indeed true during peak hours. But during off-peak hours, I rarely encountered congestion when driving in Chongqing. Also, I certainly wouldn't compare Chongqing with Chengdu in terms of how comfortable it is for city walks. That's inherently unfair. But honestly, apart from often needing to climb stairs in residential areas, walking in Chongqing wasn't as strenuous as I had imagined. Traditional elevators are naturally indispensable, and many slightly larger intersections offer elevated pedestrian bridges with elevators. I even found walking in Chongqing to be easier than in Guiyang, which is also a mountainous city. Perhaps it's because the scenery in Chongqing makes the process of climbing stairs much more enjoyable. Anyway, walking in Chongqing is definitely more tiring than in other cities. But the benefit is that you not only get to see the scenery but also save time going to the gym. Another very comfortable thing about Chongqing is that not only are the roads clean and tidy, but there are clean and tidy parks around almost any place in Chongqing. Clean and tidy is by no means an ordinary evaluation, because Chongqing is a mountain city, and it is easy to form a messy living environment if it is neglected. I parked my car casually in a park. There are only a few hundred square meters here, and it has been built into a very small community park. In the larger community park in Zhilongpo district, the flowers and plants are also carefully cared for. There are also communities that I feel are built directly in the park. This living environment can be said to completely surpass my inherent image of Chongqing. If you think Chongqing is just a tourist city, you may greatly underestimate Chongqing. It is actually a relatively livable city. If 100 people feel comfortable in Chongqing, about 90 of them will be related to food, and I don't want to spend a lot of chapters repeating what many bloggers have already repeated. My words may be too subjective, but if you travel all over the country like me, you may agree with me to a certain extent. That is, don't compare food with people in Sichuan and Chongqing, because both the taste and variety are not at the same level. I just found a noodle restaurant at Jifengbai, and it was 9 yuan for a big bowl. This bowl of noodles is the best I have eaten this year, no doubt about it. Chongqing is so magical. After I have been to so many cities, both large and small, in China, I have discovered an extremely simple and plain rule. Only when the residents of a city really love the city can the city become a truly good city. This is true for Chengdu, Hangzhou, and Shanghai. And now I also classify Chongqing as such a city. All the details of this city can make you feel that this is a city that Chongqing people have invested their love in. I will not repeat the clean roads and community environment. In Chongqing, there are also some old houses that can be seen as a mark of history at a glance. But you will never feel that there is a sense of dilapidation here. In the place of Shibati, although it is a scenic spot, these old buildings will still make you sigh at the delicate emotions of the people living here. I felt this way especially strongly in Yiling Park. This is not a particularly popular park, but in my opinion it is a treasure of Chongqing. The predecessor of Yiling Park was the private garden, Li Yuan, of Li Yaoting, a wealthy businessman in the late Qing dynasty. Now it has become a public living room for citizens. Chongqing people are well aware of the cramped, no flat land in the mountain city, but in this steep terrain, they have carved out a world with the charm of the south of the Yangtze River with almost stubborn patience. It is no exaggeration to say that the experience of this garden is even better than that city famous for its gardens. You all know where I am talking about. I think that gardens need to be cared for and taken care of. Some gardens will lose their original brilliance after the passage of time. In Yiling Park, no matter where you go, you can feel the details that are carefully taken care of. When I walked to this stone rope bridge, I was even a little excited. After walking through so many cities, I actually saw such exquisite garden scenery in Chongqing, a mountain city. No matter where you are by the pool, you can feel a kind of exquisiteness. I feel like I can shoot here for a day. At this point, my perception of Chongqing has risen to a new level. What kind of state of mind can make this park so beautiful? There is no point in saying more. You can get a rough idea by looking at my camera. Of course, another reason to visit this park is the Land Rover building. Seeing this, you probably also found that the good of Chongqing is of course within sight. And what you can't see is what I want to talk about, especially for the Chongqing people who love this city. This is Baixiangju. I think anyone who has been to Chongqing should know this place. When I walked into this ordinary residential building, what impressed me most was not the cable car and bridge that can be seen here, nor the crowded tourists taking pictures here. It was the residents here. This kind of experience of traveling directly at someone's doorstep is probably impossible in any other city in China. At this time, a big question mark appeared in my head. What kind of existence are Chongqing people? This is a special film shot by CCTV for Baixiangju in 2023. I think it answered some of my doubts.
70岁老人彭道书家的窗户斜对着游客拍照的转角处，不堪其扰。
我都是那个场子太近了，我受不了，闹得我受不了。
比较吵。
哎，
交
没办法的。
那有点猴皮噪，哪有点猴皮噪？那个声音就是相当的大，对我们的影响大。我家里面有老人有小孩。
This documentary talked about how the residents of Baixiangzhu actually had a lot of complaints about these tourists at the beginning. Not only were they very noisy, but the number of tourists during the peak season had reached a point that the residents of the community could not bear. But this community has indeed become one of Chongqing's many tourist business cards for a completely unexpected reason. If it is not handled properly, it may also affect Chongqing's image. So the people of Chongqing thought of a best of both worlds solution, which not only allows tourists to come here to travel and check in a civilized and orderly manner, but also allows this place to be managed in an orderly manner. In short, in Baixiangzhu, you can really see the tolerance of Chongqing people towards outsiders. And it also allows us to see why Chongqing has become a magical city that everyone likes. Chongqing people really regard this place as their own home, and also regard this place as everyone's home. This is the case with Hongyedong, Liziba, and even the corridors of such an ordinary community. This is the Chongqing people. People in Sichuan and Chongqing have a characteristic of tolerance. Whether you are rich or poor, whether you are fat or thin, whether you have 8 rings on your nose, whether you like women or men, it's all fine, as long as it doesn't affect others. Why do I say this? Because of tolerance, there are not so many rules here. For young people, this is heaven. I was camping under the Gongyan Bridge. At 11 o'clock, a group of ghost fire teenagers gathered here to show off their cars. I don't know who fought with whom. After a lot of tossing, at around 12 o'clock, the group of kids left. I just fell asleep, and a group of drunk girls from nowhere came and drove their car under the bridge and started singing in the car. They drank and sang for 2 hours and drove away. It's really good to be young. I have never seen so many people shopping in Guanyin Bridge. Now, I think you can no longer see such a lively scene in Beijing, Shanghai, or Shenzhen. Why is Chongqing so vibrant? It is also reflected in the night economy. I am not just talking about eating and drinking, but the real nightlife. I will not give you any specific introduction, but in my opinion, this is not only about economic vitality, but also about tolerance for people's right to survive. I will not expand on this topic. If you are interested, you can find relevant videos by yourself. In short, if you see how boring it is in Guangdong late at night, you will know how lively Chongqing is at night. This is Chongqing. Those magical, dazzling, and passionate things are just the appearance of Chongqing, a hot city. Chongqing people are never afraid of these gorgeous brilliances, which will change their lives beyond recognition. Just like few people would choose to live in such a rugged mountain valley, Chongqing people will enjoy everything they get, whether it is good or bad. And as long as you observe carefully, Chongqing people will hide their love for their hometown in every corner and every detail of Chongqing. I have traveled to many cities in China, and there are not many places where this deep affection is buried in the city. And the good of Chongqing is all hidden in these corners. This is definitely not something you can find by watching short videos and moments, nor is it something that other cities can learn by building an aerial rail or installing a few neon lights. As for why everyone loves the mountain city of Chongqing, I think you should all have your own answer.